Hi everybody, welcome back. Wow, what do we have here? We have two chassis. I'm sitting here going, you know, they look kind of cool. But now I gotta, I thought I was gonna be taking a lot more time off, but it's like 3 days later after I finished the video. And you know what? I just want to keep going. And what it is that I picked up some Audi parts. I'm using that term rather loosely. And I want to finish up the underbody protection and the wheel well inner liners for both of these cars, because you have to remember I cut the ones out of here so I make sure I could get the fronts, and I got to seal everything up, you know. And I'll go through all of that because I didn't show sealing up the front of the Sport, but I'll show it on the Rally Quattro just to show you what I did. That's it, you know. And this is another video to prove to you that I'm actually doing the work. Can you tell by the bags underneath my eyes? So, all right, let me take a swig of this, push this over, and let me show you the Audi parts I picked up. All right. Yep, more free filing cabinets. You know, I was running out of metal. So I had to look on Facebook Marketplace. And what I did was I wanted to make sure you wanted to get a 5-drawer cabinet. You're probably saying, well, why did you can get tons of 4 drawers. Well, the 5-drawer is, 5 feet tall. What does that mean? That means the Sport Quattro will have a 1-piece sill. So there's no piecing together. The Rally Quattro is going to have 2 pieces, but this is going to be good for a single piece, sill that goes onto the Sport Quattro. There'll be no seams. I was pretty happy with that, And also I picked up another one. That one was at the recycling station. Going to be doing some stuff with. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the bottom off, and I'm going to use this piece right here for the TIG welder, and the bottom pieces for patches in on the cars. And that's what I want to do. But the first things first, let's pull the drawers out of this, and then I am going to make a template on the Sport, come over here, draw it out, cut them out, and then continue on to make the ones for the Rally Quattro. Here is the rough profile of the transition from the front fender to the rocker, and from the rocker transitioning into the quarter. This is what I wanted. So what did I use for a template? I used some old Guinness cases or cartons. I just taped them together and ran a pencil down there and took a set of scissors and cut it out. But what it is that this is actually minimum thickness. We have enough metal on here to bring it out 1 inch, so we can roll the lip over. So, and we can go all the way down and roll the lip over and bring it back in. So I'm pretty confident that this is going to be the shape. What I want to do now is let's go take apart the cabinet and use this template as our first cut. And then we'll figure out if we're going to go do the other side or do the wheel well or whatever. I'm not really sure yet, but I think this will be our first cut. So let's go take apart the cabinet and make the first cut so we can continue on. For first hits on the template, yeah, it looks pretty good. Conformed all the way through here, all the way back to the back portion of the rocker. Right now, I was hoping to have enough metal to wrap around and come down here and fill in this gap, because I want the rocker panel to be equal to the bottom, but in order to get this line to line up with this right here, this is just the way I had to do it to make it all line up with the door. So what I'm going to do is I have tons of room where I can move this out a little bit, cut this back, bend it over, and then trim it all the way down the side. That way it'll protect it, and it'll actually look nice, and also give this bottom rocker piece a completely flat surface right there. Let me pull this down here. You see right here, if I pull it out, I'm only like 1 centimeter right there. Take a look at the back. If I push this back in, it conforms really nice here, and I am right at the edge of the wheel well, the steel wheel well. So I'm pretty happy with that, but I'll probably come out a little bit like this in order to give me clearance for the front. But I got tons and tons of metal right here that I can clean up and take out and just weld it. Pretty happy with that. Watch it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go make a template for the other side, cut it out of the cabinet, and then I want to finish. I want to do the wheel wells, get those all installed before I do any welding right here. That's a big thing. So yeah, I think that's just the way I'm going to have to proceed with it. And I got to make the back plates too, but looks pretty decent. All right, let me go get a template for the side, and we'll do this right up. Oh, just one quick thing before I go bring the template over and cut this out. There's probably a reason why I cut out the back here first. First thing, I cut it out here because I didn't know if the other template was gonna be could use this, and that way I just do it, one here, one there, and just get it done. But it won't. It's a little bit larger, so I got to go on the sides. Second thing, this is more of an exploratory cut. I knew there was those braces in the back here, so I cut it down knowing that I can get the thing up. I didn't know about this. Well, I kind of assumed it about all the pinch rolls. And also, it gives me my next cut. What it is that these drawer slides have a bar or a support bar going all the way down. It's only tacked in the middle of this panel. So I have a good foot all the way down to where that drawer slide support is, where I can cut it out. So I can just lay this thing on there, put the template on it. I got tons of room. Just cut it right out, and it should lift right out. That's the reason why I did it that way. And the exploratory cut hopefully helps you disassembling your cabinets. All right, let me go grab the template. Well, I think this looks pretty decent. What I'm going to do now, instead of putting in the wheel wells and all that stuff, I'm going to go cut the other ones for the Replica. I'll make the template, cut the other ones, because I just think it's a little bit more efficient. Seeing like everything's set up over there, and I can get, if I cut those out, I can take the cabinet, throw it outside. Efficiency of time, I think. All right, let me go do that. I have all of the underbody protection on all 4 cars. They're all clecoed on. That gives me a reference point, because this is what I have to do now is trim these things up. This one, in order for me to get enough metal to have excess metal where I can trim it back and also cover the front fender, I had to bring it out about 1 inch. Yeah, just the way it works. If you take a look here, right here, this fender comes out at an angle. Let's just say, 30 degrees out. So I got to cut an angle this way, so when I bend it down, it covers the entire section. Then, right here, I have to trim all of the metal right here that sits on this rocker, because if I just bent it over, it would come up to right there, and I don't really need it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pencil and dig, exactly where this thing is at the bottom, and come out about 10 millimeters, so it goes halfway up this section of the rocker panel. And then when you put it all down and the panel bond is all inside here, I'm not sure if I'm going to use pop rivets on the top or screws to screw it all down, but it should be a pretty strong setup after it's all done. Now what I got to do now is I'm going to mark it with a pencil, mark exactly where my lines are going to be to cut, and start trimming up all of the panels so we can get this thing squared away and we can move on to the rear quarter protection. Here's the wheel well liner. Okay, my thought process is on. What it is, this is not structural. This is only going to protect it from rocks and sand and all that stuff. Sand blasting the fiberglass and saving it. What did I do? Well, I made, like 3, 4, 5 pieces that I had here that I basically bent up to give me as much clearance on the inside as I can. Because this section right here, is on the fender flare. It's actually sitting on it. These things are pretty far out. These things are pretty far out. This right here, I made a trough where I'm going to be putting panel bond in. Now, my thought process on this is that I was going to do a certain thing, then stop. What it turned out to be is I need this to come out because I have to pull a panel bond and then push it back in and lock it. So I have about a half an inch to about, let's say 13 millimeters to about 1 centimeter on this side. So what will happen is I can push it out, fill it full of paintball bond, pull it back in. I have enough material on the edge for the bottom of the fender, or how can I put it? The top of the fender plate, or the bottom of that plate, I can tack this onto. This is going to be held on with panel bond. I'm not really sure. I think I'm just going to weld some tabs on this thing to rock it. Then I'll use seam sealer. And this thing is all going to be panel bond along the edge. And I cut that piece off, so when I put this back on, I can, I'll do a final fit, but I can round the edge over with the panel bond in it. I'll put tape on the other side so it doesn't squeeze out, but it should be pretty tough. All right, let me throw this in, and I'm gonna do the plate for the back of the Sport next. Okay, now, I haven't filmed a bunch of making the stone guards because I needed a memory card. And what it was that I had to wait. It came on Amazon, of course, but it just came, so I threw it in there. I thought I'm going to run you through. Let me show you what I've done for stone guards before, because I'm just about ready to panel bond. It's the last day I can possibly do it and actually have 7 degrees overnight. All right, I'll show you what I did on the rally car, then I'll show you what I did on the Sport. Here on the front of the rally car, what it is, remember I cut the entire section out. I have the lip right here. I redid this section. I have a tube right here that what I didn't see before was the drainage for the cowling. I forgot all about it. And I'm glad I had to cut these things out. So I put a tube in there, welded it all up, and welded a plate, and I have basically enough distance all in between here. So this thing will slide out like this. I gotta take this plate off. But then I can clamp it all back in. That way we're good to go when we put the panel bond inside. I gotta do the rockers first, and then I'll do this. It's the same exact thing over on the other side. Let me show you the Sport. Here we are at the rocker. First things first, I was gonna overlay the rocker like this and go forward. Nope, what I did was I scribed underneath, hogged out this piece, slid it in and welded it right here all the way down. The reason is I wanted to keep this VW Audi symbol. Yeah, I know. It's stupid, but that's what I wanted. Let me show you the back of the rocker because I had to make a receiving plate back there. Right here, I have a receiving plate, which basically what this does was when this is up, I can bring it down and I can pop rivet this with panel bond all the way through. I'm going to weld this over here, but this way, this is all set up, ready to go. And we have one more plate back here. We have a cap right here. I basically folded it over. It's all set. All I have to do is just pop rivet it in, put the panel bond in, and we're ready to go. I think we are, and the same sides same thing on both sides. Let me get some rubber gloves on so I can do the panel bond, and I'm just gonna blast it out. Hopefully it won't take very long. Next day, what it is, I pretty much have everything panel bonded on both cars. What I did not do is the wheel well or inner wheel well on the rally car, which is the left side wheel well, because I ran out of clamps. The other side was very clamp intensive. So, but the Sport Quattro is all done. And seeing how I'm going to break out the panel bond again, what I want to do is I just want to do as many things as possible with it. What I have to do now is it's not in the morning, it's in the afternoon because I did a lot of work to get the dashboard fitted to the Sport Quattro for its final position. I'm going to spin this thing over. I'm going to show you on the dashboard. I had to cut out more stuff in order to make it fit for the actual binnacle to go in there and actually look nice. Let me show you with that. Then I got to panel bond it. Then we'll cut right to the end because that'll be the end of this video. And then I'll show you. We'll do a walk around on how everything looks. So I think it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it, and I think it's going to work out pretty decently. You know. So all right, let me spin this Sport around. Let me show you the dashboard, what I had to cut out, and then I got to get the panel on. Here's the dashboard of the Sport. What you're going to have to do if you're going to have one of those 5,000 clusters, there's a back portion on it, which is it's a big connector like that, and that's where I had to do this. I had to cut out a whole bunch of stuff. Now, what this is this section right here goes to the vents to demist the windscreen, and I also had to cut the support for the steering column. I'm going to build all of this back in, and it's going to be a pretty tough unit because when I build it back in, it's going to be 3 times as tough because I'm going to use thicker steel than the 20 gauge steel than they use here, or 18 gauge steel. I'll probably use some plate, you know, and set it up where it's not going to go anywhere. But just to let you know, that I had to cut out all of that, bend it all down, and now I got to rebuild it. But that doesn't really bother me because that's a real easy thing. When I do my final weld around, you know, go around, look and see what needs to be welded, that's when I'm going to do that. And it's not that hard. But the main thing is the panel bond is going to go in all these slots right here that I cut, and it's going to mainly on the external portion, and it's going to lock everything in its final position so I can take this off. Plus, I bolted this thing. There's three bolts, M6s on the inside of the firewall. There's 2, one right here and one right over there on the external part of the firewall. 2 nuts that go in there. So I bolted this in. This is final position. Let me show you the instrument cluster. Here's the instrument cluster that we have. I have to make sure this thing fits absolutely perfect all the way around, and there's screws inside here where it's centered. So when I put this in, like this is the final position of where it's going to be. It's completely level all the way down through here. It's going to look pretty nice. It's all going to be set up, and the panel bond it's going to be adhering mostly to the foam and certain pieces that are metal. Yes, it will adhere into that, but the foam should be tough enough to hold it exactly where I want it to be. And then I can take everything off and go from the inside out and make sure everything is, you know, make sure it all looks right and make sure it all functions. Because the main thing, we have to have a defroster for the front windscreen. Because if you don't, I mean, I don't even know if we can get an electric one, but that's the main thing. We have to have a good defroster. So, because I want to drive this thing, you know, whenever I want. So I'm gonna have to have it. So, all right. Let me pull this off. Let me get the panel bond so I can do the fender, and then we'll do this, and I'll see you in the morning. Well, rally car is done. Sport Quattro all set up. Dashboard looks wicked cool. I think it sits in there really nice. Yeah, I think this is getting really close. But what it is you're probably wondering, why did you do all this stuff? It's like, well, I live on a gravel road, and what it is that fiberglass and gravel being kicked up by spinning tires don't really work. What happens, a friend of mine, Tom, they used to have a GT3 Scirocco, built fiberglass fender flares and all that stuff. After they did this one practice session where there was some rocks and stuff like that kicked out onto the track, and what happened was they came back in and there was like holes in the fiberglass, you know, destroyed. So they had to redo that. This is why I plate this stuff, because when the stones get kicked up and you're having a little bit of fun, guess what? It's going to chip the paint on the metal. It's not going to take the chunks out of the fiberglass. So it should easily save it. Same thing on the bottom. It's not going to take chunks out of the rocker. It's going to save the bottom. And one thing that happened with me putting these rock guards on is this. This fender right here, when I made everything fit the lines, you know, the fender line, the belt line, and the top ridge line right here on the top of the fender, this right here was down at an angle, or the fender was at an angle. So when I put this single piece of steel all the way across here and bent this up, I have a nice flat line all the way across, so it looks factory. I mean, don't get me wrong, all this is going to be fill. I'm going to use filler on all of this and make it look really nice. But the main thing is when the rocks come up and hit it, it's just going to chip the paint. It's not going to rip pieces of fiberglass off. That's a big thing. Plus, it made this line straight. Same thing on the rally car. I made all the lines straight. That's a big thing. And it's going to be protected from all the rocks getting kicked up from the tires. We don't want chunks of the fiberglass kicked out because it's so freaking expensive. But other than that, thank you very much for showing up. You know, I mean, I'm just some hillbilly out here in New Hampshire trying to build an Audi. You know, and I'm saving the planet by recycling. How's that? Yeah, I'm not gonna blow my own horn. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, go shut up. Yeah, I mean, thanks again for showing up. I mean, it's getting there. I looked at my diary this morning, you know, coming down here, because I'm gonna, you know, I got to let these things sit for a little bit, because I got to think about what the next thing I got to do to them. The roof line, the roof on this one has the most attention. Then both hoods or bonnets on both these cars need attention. Those are like the big things that I'm going to have to do, but I haven't decided which way I'm going to go. So you'll know as soon as I do, because I'll make a video and have, you know, and I'll just do it. But other than that, I mean, it's all looking pretty well. It's looking really cool. I mean, it sounds like steel. You know, it sounds like steel on both cars. It's amazing. But I am pretty happy with the way it's turning out. Other than that, thanks again for showing up. I really appreciate it. Remember, you can do all of this. Take the stuff that I've done and make it better. Because you have to remember, this is the first time I'm doing this. And every single time, like if I do something on that, I come to here or do something on the rally car and then come over to the sport, it's actually easier and I find a better way to do it. So maybe you can take all the ideas that I've done and make it better, you know, and say, oh, geez, he did that. No, I think it's going to work out better my way. Cool. That's great. You know, that's the way you should do it. You know, make it better for you, not to impress anybody else. You know, and I assure you this doesn't impress anybody. But other than that, I'm pretty ecstatic, you know, so don't know what the next video is going to be. I have no idea, but thank you very much for showing up. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I don't know what else to say, but I'll see you again. I don't know what I'm going to do next, but you'll know when I do. All right. We'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye now.